hope we get enough power cards, Rob, to keep the meeting going. Okay, members, Christine, have you got the settlement?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I have Councillor Douglas Reid.
Yeah.
Councillor Jim McMahon.
Yeah.
Councillor John McFadden.
Here, morning.
Thank you. Councillor Elaine Cowan.
Yeah.
I have an apology from Councillor Maureen Mackay and also an apology from Councillor Ian Linton. Councillor Graham Barton.
Yep.
Councillor Barry Douglas understands going to be 5 minutes late. Councillor Neil Ingram.
Yeah.
Councillor Claire Maitland. Here. And I don't think we've got Councillor Filson as yet. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Christine. Okay, just go to item 1, which is a declaration of interest. I don't think there's any. Look at David, unless you're not.
No, just a quick reminder, we think Councillor Douglas may, so we might need to revisit it at item 3. Obviously, just to accommodate him being slightly later joining the meeting, but I think he will come free, so we just revisit it at 3, Chair. But other than that, other than anything members are aware of, there's nothing I'm particularly expecting.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, we go to item 2, which is the East Ayrshire gift card and shop happy, and Claire will introduce us.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. I'm really pleased to bring this report to you this morning because these innovative programmes continue to be a really positive story for us, a really positive impact on families, on towns and villages and on local businesses. I'm also really pleased to introduce Tracy Murray to Chamber members. Tracy's a community-led regeneration officer and she has been the architect of the gift card and Shop Happy. She's going to take you through the highlights of today's report. But just before I hand over to Tracy, I'd just also like to draw members' attention to the gift card and Shop Happy graphic illustrations that we see in Chamber this morning. So these featured within the East Ayrshire exhibit at the National Conference on the Future of Scotland's Towns held recently in Kilmarnock, showcasing how the council, together with our business associations, are putting love local, shop local at the heart of our approach to regeneration. Thank you.
Good morning, members. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the East Ayrshire gift card and the outcome of the recent evaluation of Shop Happy. Paragraphs 3 to 5 set out the background in terms of the gift card, including describing its purpose at paragraph 4, to lock money into the local economy and by encouraging people to shop local and by driving footfall to local businesses and to contribute the community wealth building agenda. The gift card does this in 3 ways: personal and individual gifting, company incentives and rewards, and disbursement of monies to provide financial support to local people and families. Members will note at the most recent decision of Cabinet at paragraph 5 for officers to review the final year of the current gift card contract ending in August 2023 and to develop proposals for delivery beyond this period. Paragraphs 6 and 7 then describe the origins of Shop Happy, our local digital high street, beginning in 2020 and in response to the COVID-19 pandemic as a pilot within the council and thereafter taken on jointly by the Kilmarnock and Cumnock business associations. Using match funding from East Ayrshire Council and Scotland's Towns Partnership to enable local businesses to trade online at no cost to them. Paragraphs 8 to 15 describe progress in relation to the gift card, highlighting that East Ayrshire has continued to lead the way nationally in terms of using the gift card for disbursement, which allows us to financially support people in a dignified way as well as supporting the business community. 3 particular stories of the positive difference this has made are set out at the bullet points in paragraph 10. Paragraph 11 sets out that over £383,000 has been locked into the local economy, with 14% management fees for its implementation and delivery to date. 231 businesses are now signed up to accept the gift card, which is up from 80 when we launched. The contract has been reviewed for its final year, reducing costs as detailed at paragraph 13, and we have reviewed practice across services to further improve cost effectiveness. It's recommended that the gift card is supported beyond August 2023, and subject to approval, we will work with procurement colleagues to procure a new contract, reporting to a future cabinet on the detail of this. Paragraphs 16 to 20 describe the position in relation to Shop Happy. There are now 123 businesses actively using the platform and around 10,000 people using the site. We have undertaken an evaluation of the programme together with the businesses to identify areas for improvement, with a significant finding being the need for further digital support to enable businesses to maximise the impact that Shop Happy can have for them. Learning from this, and as part of the Council's response to the cost of living crisis, we have arranged for Business Gateway colleagues to deliver additional face-to-face training. In the context of the financial crisis and its impact on local businesses, the intention continues to be for the business community to lead this programme beyond 2023-24, subject to the Business Association's assessment of sustainability. The community-led regeneration team will support the business associations in this regard and bring a further update to a future meeting of Cabinet. Implications are set out at paragraphs 22 to 27, principally in terms of the role of these programmes in mitigating risks to the local economy by supporting local businesses, noting the risk that, as a community-led initiative, should Shop Happy not be delivered beyond 2023-24, these mitigations may potentially be reduced. Paragraph 25 sets out the financial position that, subject to approval, the local authority COVID Economic Recovery Fund will meet the projected gift card costs over the next contractual period, and that any future financial implications for Shop Happy will be subject to further reports to Cabinet. There are 6 recommendations set out for members at paragraph 2, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Tracy. Claire, that's excellent report. Just at the STP conference, there's a number of inquiries from other authorities to see what we're doing, and that's good to see that other authorities, including our neighbours in South Ayrshire, are looking to copy the gift card idea, and look forward to that progressing. And also the Shop Happy, great to see a 20% increase in footfall. That's a great statistic for these businesses. Claire, you had your hand up. Claire.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tracy and Claire. I think this is an excellent report. It's interesting to note that when we talk about community wealth building, that's £383,000 is being locked into the local community. One question for Tracy, because I was quite happy with the sustainability, but one question, Tracy, I know it's always hard, but in paragraph 17, it's 20% of those who do not update regularly fail to do through lack of confidence, and that's putting more stock, etc. on board. A lot of the time, people are just exceedingly busy when they run small businesses. So I was wondering in what way could we perhaps help the businesses to keep putting up online, to keep customers coming back. Thanks.
Thanks, Claire. Tracy.
Through you, Chair. Part of the evaluation brought that information to light, and we understand that we do have people that are maybe not confident. So that's why we've engaged with colleagues in Business Gateway to offer that face-to-face training, as well as the training that Shop Happy provide.
Barry and Jim. Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report, Tracy. I think just a couple of points I wanted to make. Really, the first one was about, I've certainly been approached by a local business who is very keen, and I think 2019 had made an approach to the council and completed the forum in terms of actually joining the scheme, and tells me he's still not heard anything. Is this something he's still doing in relation to the gift card? And I think it certainly I wouldn't want anybody to be missing out, particularly when it is a local small business. Certainly, I'm more than happy to pass on details, Tracy, but if we could comment on that.
Yeah, we have businesses signing up all the time to the gift card. If they've made an approach and they've been missed somehow, I apologise. If you could forward that information to me, I'll make sure that they get signed up.
Perfect, thank you.
That's more the merrier. Jim?
Thanks, Dougie. Just in relation to paragraph 17, I think it's worth noting, being a business myself and had to reduce my hours, the importance of being able to order online, where it helps a business if they can cut their costs in some way, their heating, lighting and even staff costs during that way. I think it's been described as trailblazing in paragraph 8, and I think it really is. Tracy, for me, I says that I was at the Scotland's Town Partnership conference and thoroughly enjoyed it, certainly enlightening. Maybe a wee preview in yourself how you think that was perceived at that conference and the kind of feedback you got for
it. It was incredibly positive, the feedback that we got from that. We've also had a lot of inquiries coming in from other councils just with regards to how we implement the gift card and Shop Happy, and we're continuing to share our learnings with different councils that approach us.
Thanks, Jim. Elaine?
Thanks, Chair. On the subject of sustainability, I'm interested in point 11, the breakdown of the sales. So there's 76k on private sales. What's the source of the 306 sales? And I'm wondering if that's maybe the avenue to increase the potential for sustainability.
Thanks, Chair, and through you, thank you, Councillor Cowan, for the question. So the breakdown at paragraph 11 in the 306,000 that you're referring to is through community disbursement. So that's when council and partner organisations have used the gift card to distribute public monies to support families that are in financial distress potentially. So there have been 2 campaigns to date. There was a campaign last summer and at Christmas, and certainly that's something that we are absolutely exploring how that can be developed, and again that's from another development that East Ayrshire have had that trailblazing role in, that other local authorities have now identified as a way forward for the gift card. So thank you. Yes.
So again, through you, Chair, I'm just wondering if perhaps if it's been mentioned with our community planning partners, if there is other opportunities there to go down more a corporate route as well, especially when you look at the significant sales compared with the private sales.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely happy to make that more apparent if it's not already to community planning partners and take it through that route.
I think we have had a discussion, but it's always useful to have a reminder. Just the more folk that join in the scheme, it's it's a way of community wealth building, redistributing money. It's excellent. Claire?
And Chair, and just to pick up on that point, that we've recently established a relationship with our NHS colleagues for that purpose, and they've indicated some interest.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Okay, there's no more comments or questions. Can we agree on recommendation? Okay, that's great. Thanks. The next item is the community asset transfer. Would be welcome Barry and Drew. As David said just with the declaration of interest, Barry might want to declare. You're mute, Barry. You're mute, Barry. We can't hear you. Oh,
I think I lost sound there. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, there you are.
I will, as I say, because I was a few minutes late, apologies. I will declare my interest and not take part in this. If somebody can let me know when the meeting moves on to the next item, and also for item 6, in that my employers through Homes for Scotland will undoubtedly be making a response in that regard. So I won't take part in item 6 either. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Barry. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so Craig Fulton is going to take us through this paper. I believe Craig there.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. The purpose of this report is to make recommendations to Cabinet in terms of disposal of 2 properties under the Community Asset Transfer Framework, and also to recommend a reflection on the framework in line with a change in Scottish Government best practice to community asset transfers. The recommendations are set out in section 2, which we'll come back to. The background is paragraphs 3 through 5. Take About Development Trust is the first organisation who have requested purchase of their building. Cabinet on the 22nd August 2019 approved a lease of the New Farm Law Community Centre to Take About Development Trust. The organisation have been a strong partner with East Ayrshire Council since, working hand in hand with us in a number of projects which are of benefit to the residents of New Farm and the wider Kilmarnock area. The organisation are now looking to have a refurbishment of the building for just under a £2 million investment to add additional capacity and make the building more energy efficient. In order to assist the organisation realise their goals, colleagues from Economic Growth have been working with Take About Committee to progress a regeneration capital grant fund bid. Cabinet agreed on the 26th of October to support in principle and pending further due diligence the Stage 2 application to the Scottish Government's Regeneration Capital Grant Fund on behalf of Take About. The RCGF fund requires the organisation to own the building, and as such, Take About approached East Ayrshire Council to purchase, citing the Scottish Land Fund as a preferred funder. Members will be aware the Community Asset Transfer Framework states that the purchase price of assets will be 10% of the proposed value, unless another discount is appropriate depending on the asset being transferred. All previous sales have been at 10% on the basis that East Ayrshire have been able to secure discounted a purchase price with a 40-year clawback period to protect the council if the asset is sold to an organisation that doesn't provide the same community benefit as the organisation originally sold to. The Scottish Land Fund guidelines, however, have changed and now no longer allow a clawback period of more than 10 years. They do, however, allow the seller to request a higher percentage of an independent valuation to offset the risk associated with a lack of clawback. The independent valuation of the New Farm Community Centre was indicated as £0.155 million, and utilising the same principles, estates have valued an additional strip of land which is required for a car park at £0.027 million. The combined site is therefore £0.182 million. After discussions with Take About Development Trust and engagement with the Scottish Land Fund, a purchase price of £62,050 was provisionally agreed, which represents 34% of the market value of the site. The increased capital receipt would offset some of the risks associated with limited clawback, while ensuring the charitable organisation are in the best position possible to gain the funds required for the refurbishment. The second property is the former Netherthird Community Centre, which has been a request for Netherthird Initiative for Community Empowerment has been lodged to purchase that building. The organisation took asset transfer through a Cabinet decision the 17th of June 2015. And the organisation have worked tremendously well in their community to further the benefits of the centre for the residents of Netherthird. There was a clear unmet need in the locality for mental wellbeing facilities, which was identified through the work of the Netherthird Initiative for Community Empowerment. And there was an agreement with the states that we could look at extending the building, and the charity were able to gain £250,000 to add additional space to the main hall and 2 rooms for mental wellbeing supports. The charity have now requested to purchase the facility, and they have also identified the Scottish Land Fund. Paragraphs 11 and 12 set out the same principles of the change in Scottish Land Fund guidance. The site is valued as by our estates colleagues at £0.33 million. In order to facilitate the request and offset the risk associated with the reduced clawback, officers recommend a sale of the asset for £0.12 million, which has provisionally been agreed with the organisation and in consultation with the Scottish Land Fund. This is 36% of the original market value of the community centre. Paragraph 18 sets out the change in the guidance from the Scottish Land Fund, which was changed in January 2022 to limit the burdens which the seller can add during the sale of property. Scottish Land Fund indicated that the change in their guidance has been made following an update in good practice from Scottish Government. which indicates that an unburdened title enables community organisations to develop assets to best meet the needs of their community. Given the change in the Scottish Government good practice and the resulting change in SLF guidance, it would be an opportune moment to reflect on East Ayrshire Council's community asset transfer framework and ensure that the policy continues to follow best practice. As such, we would ask Cabinet to consider the following recommendations: to approve the sale of the former New Farm Community Centre, an extended strip of land situated at the Take About facility, to Take About Development Trust, and confirmation that all funds for the proposed refurbishment have been acquired. To approve the sale of the former Netherthird Community Centre to Netherthird Initiative for Community Empowerment, and to task officers to reflect in the Community Asset Transfer Framework, discuss the changes to good practice with Scottish Government colleagues and Scottish Land Fund colleagues, and update East Ayrshire policy to ensure that we continue to follow best practice. The Cabinet paper's legal implications are set out in paragraphs 21 and 22. The financial implications in 23 indicate that the Take About asset transfer sits on housing revenue account as well as the general account, and therefore there's a pro rata basis where the funding is split. The capital receipt for the Netherthird Community Centre will provide 0.12 million receipt to the general fund. Policy planning implications are paragraphs 25 and 26. There's no equality impact assessment or implications arising from the report. There's an added risk implication, added in section 30, which indicates that this paper has a risk implication associated to the successful completion of the Council's RCGF project. In order to successfully attain the investment, the building requires to be owned by Take About Development Trust. There's also net zero implications outlined in section 31, as the New Farm Community Centre will be refurbished to include greener energy, microsite generation. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Craig. Drew.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just to thank Craig for his report there. There's two good examples of community empowerment, and I totally support these two projects, Chair.
Thanks, Drew. Graham.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, Take About is just up the road for me, and I know the great community work they do with the trust there, and I fully welcome this paper, and I look forward to them owning the building and hopefully get their funding to carry on the good work. Thanks.
Thanks, Graham. Claire. There we go.
Thank you, Chair. It was just recommendation number 3, to task officers to reflect in the current community asset transfer framework. I think this is a very good idea, and I just wondered when that would be coming back to us at Cabinet. Thank you.
Thanks. Craig.
Through you, Chair. We will do work over the probably next 4 months in terms of working with our Scottish Government partners, and we'll make recommendations at the start of the new financial year if that suits Cabinet.
Jim.
Thanks, Chair. Absolutely delighted that the initiative to Netherthird have came forward to take ownership. I know the trepidation when they first took on the asset transfer and how it would work and progress, but as a community, I'm really proud of Netherthird. It's a pleasure to work with the folk up there. I see the centre going from strength to strength, the use of the warm banks, the extension of the wellbeing rooms, and repurposing most recently their gym inside that to make further accommodation available for their meeting facilities. They're always progressing, always looking for challenges, but they always step up to that challenge. They're an absolutely fantastic community to work with, and I can only see this going from strength to strength once they become the owners there.
Thanks, Jim. Elaine.
Thanks, Chair. I might be premature because I'm interested in what changes are going to be considered under point 20. I'm assuming specifically one of them is going to be the value price, because both of these have moved from the 10% that's in the current framework to a 30% purchase price. So that's my assumption. So I'm just interested in what the direction of travel is there. And just from my own background information, of the 62 transfers, have we ever taken any of the venues or facilities back?
Through you, Chair. In terms of the reflection with the Scottish Government and the Scottish Land Fund, we need to consider their reasoning behind the reduction of clawback and their kind of rationale. I think if we were able to discuss what the rationale was and come back to Cabinet to indicate if we agree a 10% discount with reduced clawback, if that is the preferred travel, or alternatively, if we can set a specific percentage in terms of reduction of clawback, I think that would be preferable. In terms of the number of asset transfers that have come back to East Ayrshire Council, we took the Fenwick Fulton Hall back. However, that has now been successfully asset transferred back out to Fenwick Community Initiatives. And we have also taken back the Lugar Football Pavilion, which is currently back in our ownership.
I think that can answer the earlier point as well. Thanks. I'm just trying to think of Gatehead. That was it's kind of similar. It's in and it's back out again. But I think that's the way with some of them.
I was just really looking for clarity on how robust the process is, so that's given me all that reassurance. So even though there's been temporary change ownership, but they have both gone back out to the community. So you can understand how that happens with community organisations and the change in the landscape of what the community wants. What's the time frame for bringing back the policy change of the framework then? Do we know that? Or is it just going to be future cabinet report?
At the end of the financial years.
Right, I think that'd be really useful. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I mean, there was some of the cynics at the start said we'll get most of them back. You know, that's just not happening. Communities have thrived, they've thrived under the communities. Okay, can we, if there's no other comments, can we agree recommendations? And maybe bring back Councillor Douglas, bring Barry back in. Barry, a minute to get his computer. Okay, that's us back. Okay, on to item 4 now, and that's Ash dieback. Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet of ash dieback disease and to seek approval for an ash dieback plan in East Ayrshire, Appendix 1, and tree policy in Appendix 2. Ash dieback first came to notice in Europe some 30 years ago and has devastated the European ash. It was first recorded in the UK in 2012 and has spread throughout England. The disease is now established in Scotland and has been identified in East Ayrshire. The diseased trees can pose a significant risk to safety, e.g. trees next to roads and parks and open spaces and next to power lines. Ash dieback is most easily identified during the summer months when trees are in full leaf and is generally surveyed into one of 4 stages depending on the health of the tree depicted by the leaf colour. Ayrshire Roads Alliance and Greener Communities identified resources to undertake the inspections and tree felling over this financial year. And it is also proposed that ARA will make representation through Scots in conjunction with other local authorities to seek funding from the Scottish Government to tackle the national issue of ash dieback across Scotland. Tree inspection of the network was completed by the end of September 22 to appraise members on the scale of the issue with associated timescales and costs across the estate, and they are detailed Table 1 over a phased approach. Funding is required from Council for financial years 23 through to 25 to undertake the inspection, recording and felling works. The projections for 23 to 25 are based on an estimated 20% fell rate and contained in Table 2. The ash dieback plan contained in Appendix 1 aligns with the Council tree policy contained in Appendix 2. The recommendations are contained in Paragraph 2. Nick and myself will be happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions there? Elaine.
Thanks, Chair. I'm supportive of the recommendations, and all my questions were actually covered in the appendices. But I just wanted to reiterate the importance of communication here, especially when we're taking down trees. So we need to explain to people the understanding why these trees are having to be removed. And while the council can do everything in its powers, I think getting that message out there to private owners as well to help, not sure we're going to eradicate the disease, but obviously to get it under some kind of manageable control. And obviously any initiatives that we can get the community involved in, the replanting of different species so that we are keeping the habitats and the treescape as part of the landscape. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, yeah, I think that would support 100% in terms of, particularly replanting the habitats that are going to be disrupted. But Kevin, did you?
For every tree that we take down, we will be replanting additional trees, and we will be doing a piece in communications around ash dieback.
That's good. Barry.
Thanks, Chair. I think, I would agree with what Elaine has said there, and hope we can do quite an extensive public, campaign so people are aware and where it might impact in their own streets. I think just on the issue of, obviously, the council's arboriculturalist, easy for me to say with my teeth in, is one person, and from that point of view, I know this is taking up a lot of that role potentially, and I'm just keen to make sure that if other parts of the service that we provide in terms of our arboricultural service that isn't been impacted in this due to ash dieback. So maybe just a comment there, please.
That's about it. Nick, can you answer that?
Through you, Chair. As part of the proposal, we are looking at an additional officer to support that because we realise that there is a lot of work around about this, as well as the ongoing tree works that we've got. And we will be looking at the rest of the service and see where we can support that as well.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, if we go to recommendations, can we agree recommendations? Page 15. Good. Now go to Howard Street, Seaford Street, Kilmarnock, and Kevin again.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to advise Cabinet on the option appraisal carried out in the road condition and mature trees on Howard Street and Seaford Street. The residents of Howard Street and Seaford Street contacted Ayrshire Roads Alliance regarding the condition of the carriageway and the impact of leaf fall, root heave on the footways and the subsequent impact on surface water drainage. Atkins were commissioned by Ayrshire Roads Alliance to consider options for the resurfacing of Howard Street and Seaford Street in Kilmarnock, including remediation of drainage issues in the area. The site encompasses Howard Street and Seaford Street. These residential streets are due to be resurfaced, however, there is issues with the current condition of the site which require resolution prior to this taking place. Presence of coal tar in pavement layers, which is difficult to dispose of. There is little or no kerb upstand between carriageway and footway. The footway surface has been distorted by tree roots causing trip hazards, and damage to the footway and carriageway surface by tree roots is disrupting the flow of water to existing gullies, resulting in ponding. Ayrshire Roads Alliance and Atkins met with residents' representatives and explained the report and various options, and it was agreed that a letter be sent to all residents providing them with the identified options and to seek their views. 19 responses were received by Ayrshire Roads Alliance on the options presented, with the majority opting for option 3 at an estimated cost of just over £1 million. 5 options have been proposed to remediate the issues outlined and include the relevant construction activities and associated constraints. A copy of the report is available in the members' portal. All of the trees have TPO, and the preferred option for ARA is to retain the trees and recommend option 1. Adopting option 1 may result in root damage and the resulting removal of mature trees and will require ongoing robust sweeping and gully cleaning. Ayrshire Roads Alliance included Ellis Street, Howard Street and Seaford Street in its 22-23 programme at an estimated cost of £200,000 for resurfacing. A review of spend has been carried out of the East Ayrshire Council resurfacing programme, with all carriageway resurfacing work temporarily suspended. It is therefore Ayrshire Roads Alliance's intention to carry this project forward to 23-24 and to put in place a partnership approach with greener communities to carry out a monthly robust sweeping and gully cleaning regime funded through our respective maintenance budgets until such times that this project can be delivered, and will continue thereafter with this cleaning regime. Option 1 represents the most affordable option for the Council to deliver the works, given the level of resources available for the wider programme. To adopt the residents' preferred option, 3A would require significant capital investment equating to around 50% of the available budget, which would have a significant impact on the overall programme for resurfacing in 23-24. There is reputational risk to the council removing healthy mature trees which are currently protected under TPO. Recommendations are contained in paragraph 2, and Nick and I will be happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Kevin. You know, as a local member, this one's been discussed for a number of years now, and hopefully there's a solution here. Personally, you know, much as though the option 3A might be preferred, but it really would wipe out our roads programme for all our communities. So I think we've got to look at affordability here, and I think even option 3A, taking down healthy trees, as we've seen in the Lodhead area and other places, is not a popular decision, even inadvertently, with the wider community. So I wouldn't be supporting that anyway. But I think option 1's probably the most agreeable way to take things forward. Colleagues, anybody else want to comment? Jim first, and then Barry.
Thanks, Chair. Kevin, it means the work's been suspended to 23-24 and taking into account bullet point 3 in paragraph 4. Does that leave us light at risk till that programme kicks in April time?
To you, Chair. We will continually inspect the carriageways and footways and carry out any temporary repairs until that work commences. And along with Nick's team, we'll carry out gully cleaning and leaf sweeping. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Just in that same vein, I think what my questions are, in terms of the costs, if you're moving this to 23-24, these are costs that you're anticipating at that time, or have you still got to consider any inflationary rises on top of that? That's obviously a big impact. My only concern, and I'm sure Nick will be able to give me some commentary on this, is that with greener communities, I think staff, I think it's fair to say, already stretched, and I know you've had issues recruiting as well, that if it's left completely to greener communities in terms of gully cleaning and clearing out leaves, is that an issue in relation to your own staff and your resources available? And of course, you would expect that, whilst I fully support whatever particularly local members are looking to do, and I suspect option 1 is the best option here, is that obviously we have a lot of streets in a lot of areas that have very similar issues in relation to blocked gullies and drains from leaves, and I'm sure that we will all be looking for some action in that regard. And I think other steps we can take elsewhere in other areas, and I'm thinking particularly in my own ward, K Park Crescent, K Park Terrace, where similar issues could well resolve, despite us having resurfaced there, that to prevent some of the issues, that could we maybe be a bit more proactive in terms of leaves being cleared, etc., and jetting out gullies. Thanks.
Thanks, Barry. Nick.
Through you, Chair. With streets nowadays, things are getting there's a lot more traffic, so it's getting more difficult to carry out this work. So I think collectively going forward, some of these areas we're going to have to tie up with our colleagues in ARA and look at ways that we can actually programme these a bit better. And that helps us both to use the resources available a lot better and probably provide better services for our communities. As for the gully cleaning, we have had daily discussions with Kevin's team regarding putting a programme in starting from January to tie up the street sweeping and the gully cleaning. So hopefully we can get that in as quickly as possible. And there will be slight disruption to obviously the members of the public in that area, because we may have to shut the road off to do this better. But we currently get complaints because we don't go in and we don't do it properly. So we've got to get a compromise which suits everybody going forward.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for that, Nick. I think my only point was that in relation to your resource and the budget you have and from greener communities, are you confident that you can, within your current resource availability, we know it's limited, carry this out. That was really the kind of point I wanted to make. I'd get clarity on. Thanks.
As the resources are, as you say, are tight, but as part of the service, we've got to look at ways of programming it. So I will certainly be looking at with our ARA colleagues and our teams, so that there's no a big impact on the services.
Thanks, Dick. I think if you can keep us all up to date in that regard, that would be good, certainly from Cabinet point of view. Maybe there's an update can come on that just to see how things are progressing. Thanks.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, I think we'll watch matters well, just how we got in here. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, can we agree recommendation of para 2? Okay, now we're going to same again, Barry.
I'll leave
Christine
you.
will phone
You're back soon. Thanks.
Okay, on to item 6 then, the National Planning Framework for Scotland 2045 revised draft. Karen.
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on progress in respect of National Planning Framework 4, NPF 4, and to note the implications for the planning authority of the revised draft. There are 5 recommendations in paragraph 2 for noting and principally the implications for Local Development Plan 2 and planning decision making. As members may recall from earlier reports in 2020 and 2021 and earlier this year, planning is changing as a result of the Planning Scotland Act 2019. And so for the first time, a national planning framework, in this case NPF 4, will have a statutory footing and will form part of the statutory development plan alongside all local development plans in Scotland and will result in Scottish planning policy no longer being in force. There have been several consultation phases to get us to this revised draft, which the Council have commented on as per paragraph 5 of your report. On the 8th of November this year, a revised draft NPF 4 was laid in the Scottish Parliament for approval. And whilst the direction and content of it is broadly the same as earlier draft, the revised draft has been substantially redesigned post-consultation, and we think in many ways it is a much improved document from the previous consultation draft. Paragraphs 7 through 22 go through some of the bigger changes, and I won't take you through all of these, but I would draw your attention to paragraph 11, which sets out a policy change on flooding, which might be of some interest. And effectively, National Planning Framework 4 has softened the moratorium on flooding, which affects many areas in East Ayrshire, including in particular South Central Kilmarnock. And so it allows that in order that redevelopment of previously used sites and built up areas can be supported where the local development plan has identified a need to bring these into positive use, and where proposals demonstrate long-term safety and resilience can be secured in accordance with SEPA advice, that they will allow proposals to go forward. So that would be a significant step forward to us in terms of the moratorium that is effectively currently in place. In terms of next steps, NPF 4 will be considered, it is being considered in the weeks running up to Christmas, and will eventually, and we think around about the 20th of November, be either approved in whole or rejected, and it can't be changed. So kind of the important part of this paper is how this affects us in particular in terms of Local Development Plan 2 and planning applications. LDP 2 has been drafted in the context of the evolving legislative and policy circumstances. Members will recall that the direction and content of the original draft NPF 4 was incorporated into the proposed LDP 2 where possible, so that we could remove or minimise any potential conflict. And as we approach Council on the 15th of December, we're ensuring that we have a clear understanding of how the proposed plan relates to the draft NPF 4. We are entering a very complex period of time for planning policy and decision making, and paragraphs 18 to 31 set this out in detail. In terms of policy, obviously at the forefront of our minds will be how we deal with LDP 2. If we determine to proceed to finalise LDP 2 and recommend it be forwarded to the Scottish Ministers for examination, it should be noted that the remit of that examination will be limited to the representations that people have made to the plan, and that the reporter won't have remit to amend elements of the plan to bring them in line with NPF 4 unless there are representations to those parts of the plan. There are, I've noted, a couple of areas where we will seek to defend a different position than NPF 4, and one of these includes in respect of wildland. As you can see, paragraphs 23 to 31, the decision-making landscape is going to be complicated for Development Management Planning Committee and local review body for some time. And paragraphs 28 and 29 set out clearly how applications should be assessed, with paragraphs 24 to 27 elaborating on the detail of decision-making. A lot of the implications that are set out in the report already, as well as in the implication section, and I won't go over them again. But to conclude, the report sort of sets out some of the complexities of the changing context and how that will affect our decision-making processes. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Karen. I think it's really well worthwhile pointing out paragraph 11. Just wondering, do we have to in any way formally or even informally amend our LDB2, or put any refer to it in any kind of way?
Thanks, Chair. The NPF 4, the policy stance in there, we'll be able to take that forwards irrespective of what LDP2 is. It's likely that the reporter might slightly change what's in LDP2 to bring that in line, but it wouldn't be wise, I think, for us, and we'll talk about that a bit more at council next week, to seek to amend the LDP, because that would take us through another period of consultation. But as I say, the decisions around that will be brought forward and explained in full at council on the 15th.
No, that's fine. That's Elaine. Jimmy, you first. Elaine.
Yeah, I think Councillor McMahon was first.
Thanks, Elaine, you're so kind. Karen, for me, in paragraph 9 and round about the policy, and I'm glad to see that we're fully supportive green energy for our LDP2, but it doesn't come at all costs. How do we measure cumulative impact, and who decides how do we measure something is unacceptable?
Thanks, Councillor. It's really kind of determined on a case-by-case basis by looking at all the different facets of an application. So through the development management process, we would look at all the different implications and kind of weigh them up. And it is a case of kind of professional opinion on that matter.
So,
Jim, do you want back in? Yeah.
I just back on that. So, professional opinion, is it subjective? Is it just clearly subjective then?
Through you, Chair, I think, to an extent, planning decision making is subjective. It's obviously a professional opinion kind of in the round that, that is come to often.
Just based on
just based on the evidence that sits before us. I don't know if David wanted to come in there.
David.
Yeah, as members will be aware from reports to the Planning Committee, clearly assessment of visual impact and amenity has to have regard to everything that's already in place. So it is cumulative. It's not just the planning officer's judgment. In many cases, particularly major developments, we will also seek the view of expert specialists and consultants such as IFL and Dalgleish. So we will seek an independent view in order to inform our own assessment. But ultimately, yes, anybody who's trying to assess what something might be like when it hasn't been built yet is having to have a degree of conjecture, a degree of subjectivity as to what the likely impact of that is. But it doesn't mean it's a complete free-for-all. It is built on the years of knowledge and experience of the officers and the consultants in dealing with such developments. And clearly, as a starter for 10, it's not done in a vacuum. This assessment also takes full account of the development plan and compliance with any other policies. As members will know from the work of the Planning Committee, it's very rare that any application stands or falls on a single issue. It can happen, but usually there are a number of pointers in either direction, whether it's a recommendation to agree or to refuse consent. But ultimately, yeah, it does depend on someone taking a view as to what, when built, a development would look like and what the likely impacts of that development are. But as I say, it's not done in a complete vacuum. It's done against policy. It's often done with the benefit of an independent view to allow the assessor to take that broader view in terms of managing the whole application. But ultimately, it has to be a matter of judgment, as it's a matter of judgment on the developer and their agents, what they actually apply for in terms of what they think is acceptable development. So I won't say much more than that, but cumulative assessment is a tricky one. But as Karen said, each one will turn on their own facts and circumstances in terms of the planning history, the particular details of the site, and most importantly, the particular details of that application and that proposed development.
Thanks for the clarity on that. Thank you.
Thanks. Elaine.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to Karen for highlighting point 11, the change in the national policy. I know this is an area of contention when we've been looking at potential changes within the town centre, and it's certainly an area of frustration through our engagement and conversations with the public. So I welcome this far more pragmatic approach.
Yes, I would agree 100% there, Elaine. Claire.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to say I agree with Karen. I do think this is a much improved document to the original draft, and look forward to coming to Cabinet to Council next week. And just to remind councillors that they will have another opportunity to have input before Council next week. So thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Claire. Okay, if there's no other comments, questions, we'll go to the recommendations. Do we agree? Okay. Christine, is our Douglas back on? That's probably about right. Okay, David, the next item, proposed implementation of energy audit voucher scheme and mini CAPEX grant support fund.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As he said there, the purpose of the report is to seek approval to establish a new energy audit voucher scheme and mini CAPEX grant support fund for small to medium-sized businesses. So by way of background, members will recall that Cabinet on 21st September approved the Net Zero Support Grant, which allows eligible businesses to access a 50% grant of the approved expenditure up to a maximum of £3,000. This enabled a business to access an energy audit and apply for a grant. Current capacity issues with the University of Strathclyde and Business Energy Scotland has required the service to consider alternative measures with the private sector utilising qualified assessors to enable businesses to achieve the audit more timely. Additionally, at the Cost of Living Elected Members Seminar, a number of areas were raised in terms of future capacity of attaining audits and for small businesses to achieve quick wins to reduce energy consumption. Through the Local Authority COVID Economic Recovery Fund, that's known as a laser fund, the Council was allocated £500,000 for business growth and economic recovery. You'll have heard this morning that the Shop Happy funding will come from this funding resource. Similarly, this funding will be utilised for the implementation of an energy audit voucher scheme, which will accelerate businesses' ability to access specialist support in view of national providers reaching capacity. Paragraph 10 sets out that eligible businesses can apply for a grant funding to commission suitably qualified consultants to undertake an energy audit. The energy audit voucher focuses on providing grant funding as a contribution towards the energy audit interventions. Grants will provide 100% of these costs, excluding VAT, up to a maximum grant of £2,500 with one application per business permitted. Applicant businesses, including social enterprises, must be based in East Ayrshire and operate from commercial premises, and eligible businesses must be a micro, small and medium-sized enterprise up to 250 employees. It is also proposed to introduce a mini CAPEX grant to enhance the East Ayrshire Net Zero Business Support Grant currently in place, which will allow small businesses that have identified a project which they need immediate access to funds to reduce energy costs, and this grant will provide 50% of the overall cost to a maximum grant of £1,000. So that could be for matters including installation of a new boiler or LED lighting. Well, the audit identifies specific improvements requiring further capital and infrastructure and expenditure. Business growth advisors will work with the organisation to identify potential sources of funding from both the council and other organisations. This will include the council's Net Zero Support Grant Scheme, Community Wealth Building Grant Scheme, and for small and intermediate products, the mini-cap grant support scheme outlined within the paper. Chair, there are no HR, risk management or legal matters as advised. The total cost of meeting this proposal is met by a grant from the Scottish Government, and there's no financial implications for the Council. The proposals to support business align with the Council's climate strategy and support businesses transform and aim towards reduce their carbon emissions and achieve net zero. The recommendations are set in paragraph 2, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
Okay, thanks, David. Any comments or questions for David? Graham?
Thanks, Chair. It's just really a comment. I welcome this paper. Our small and medium businesses, they've not just had to survive the pandemic, they're now having to survive an energy cost crisis. And I think this energy cost crisis, it's not only highlighting the financial impact, it's also the impact it's having against the climate change. I think this grant will give access to small, quick wins for businesses, like, for instance, putting motion sensors and lights. And last night we had the members in office working group, and Kevin Braidwood was there, and Kevin was sitting talking away, and all of a sudden he went into darkness. He joined the meeting for his office in John Finney Street, and the motion sensors kicked in. So I'm glad to see we're implementing some of the energy saving measures. So hopefully local businesses can some of that as well.
Yeah, look forward to that being applied to some other places as well if you don't move about. Yeah. Okay, no, it's good to see that in practice. 300% there again. Any other comments? Okay, can we agree recommendations?
Agreed.
Yeah, and item 8 is the Mauchline Conservation Area Management Plan. Karen.
Thanks, Chair. To members, the purpose of this report is to request Cabinet approve the Mauchline Conservation Area Management Plan for consultation and to seek authorisation from Cabinet to advertise and invite representations on it. There are 5 recommendations set out in paragraph 2, most pertinently to approve the draft CAMP, as we'll call it for short, for consultation purposes. This is really positive work, and it links into the CARS scheme for Mauchline, the Conservation Area Regeneration Scheme, which was launched in October 2019, and it follows a conservation area appraisal in April 2019 and an Article 4 in deemed consent in September this year that you might recall. So Wiley Shanks architects, who are conservation accredited, were appointed to prepare this document, and the purpose of it is to set out a framework to ensure the long-term care of the conservation area and to ensure the necessary skills and procedures are in place. And it defines what management and maintenance is required, when it will be required, who should undertake it, and really builds upon the conservation area appraisal previously approved. It contains a statement of significance which underpins a more comprehensive assessment and plan has been prepared for the conservation area, and you can see this in paragraph 8 of the report. And the purpose of this is really to kind of explain quite succinctly why the conservation area is important, and it notes the defining features that's important to protect. The CAMP has a few more facets. There's a management and maintenance plan, a guide for property owners, which explains when and how to undertake maintenance, and a gazetteer, which will help to track works to properties within the conservation area. There's also a really detailed materials audit, which sets out appropriate materials for stone and mortar repairs to buildings in Mauchline, which are being earmarked for grant funding support. So subject to the report being approved, the document will be published for a 6-week consultation period starting early next year. It's proposed that following consultation, should there be no significant changes proposed, we would adopt the guidance, and if there are significant changes as a result of consultation, we will come back to Cabinet to seek approval for them. So really, as I said, hopefully quite a positive document that will help secure the progress of the Mauchline cars and overall help to deliver an improved built environment in Mauchline. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Karen. A really interesting document. A wee bit time just some of the builds in Mauchline really quite interesting. Claire.
Just want to say thanks very much indeed for this paper. It's 2018, I think this all started, so it's good to see us move towards the end. And I'm really looking forward to the final consultation, but I think this is an excellent paper. So thank you very much.
Claire. Anyone else? Drew?
I was actually in Mauchline this week with Councillor Simmons and Jack Lynch from the Community Council getting showed round about, and this will make a big improvement to Mauchline. It's definitely needing it when you see the town centre there. Just when I see Kevin there as well, I'll maybe raise a wee issue with him there just now about the crossing. The bleepers just go for about 3 seconds and they go out, so people's halfway out in the middle of the road when the bleeper goes off. So maybe Kevin, you can have a wee look at that for me, please, at the cross at Mauchline.
You, Chair, yes, I can get somebody to have a look at that.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Drew. Anyone else? No, can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. And on to item 9 now, which is the policy review schedule. Amanda's going to take us through that. Amanda.
Thanks, Chair, and morning, members. The purpose of this report is to recommend to Cabinet proposed changes to our enhanced leave policy. The background into the policy review schedule is detailed in paragraphs 3 through to 7. Paragraph 8 lays out the changes that are proposed, which include an additional paragraph to advise where there are costs associated with the enhanced leave request. Section 6 to update our pay scales for 2022. Section 6.5 to reflect our move to monthly payroll. And Appendix 1 to add wording included for managers to confirm there's budget available if required. Appendix 1, also Section 5, a tick box for confirming information's been entered onto CRIS 21. And the final change is in Section 5 also to update and advise all approved forms must be sent to payroll. Trade unions, paragraphs 14 and 15, are actively involved in all our policy review discussions and have approved the changes to this policy. There's no financial risk or net zero implications, and the recommendations are in paragraph 2, which are Cabinet's asked to approve the changes to the enhanced leave policies detailed in paragraph 8 and otherwise note the contents of the report. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Amanda. Are there any questions? No. Can we go to the recommendations, page 3, 4, 5? Okay, agreed. Now have to move it. Exclusion of press and public. Okay.